All right, well, welcome back to HFK Reactions. I'm Rob.
What's up, people?
This is Will, obviously. He's here with me. And today we're going to watch, so I'm sure everybody's aware of the migrants that are going, crisis or whatever you want to call it, that's happening. And
what? There's no migrants.
That's happening in multiple cities at this point. And I found this video of this guy named Nick Shirley. He has a YouTube, so if you want to watch, the video again, go ahead and log on to his channel and watch it. Will has never seen this video. I've seen it. So it's basically about, he actually goes and interviews people in the city of Aurora to find out exactly what's happening, so you can hear an actual opinion of people that live there, both people that are residents, that are immigrant residents, and that are any kind of resident, I guess. So residents in general.
I'm interested to see it. Yeah.
So here we go.
These are extremely dangerous, and it's extremely frightening that they have arrived here, not just only in Denver, but they have also arrived in cities like New York City, Chicago, and other sanctuary states and cities in America. And now you may be wondering how we got to this point in the United States where Venezuelan gangs are actually committing crimes such as extorting and we all kinds of migrants have entered the United States, and a large majority of those migrants are good people seeking for a better life. But we also have many people that have came here to cause harm. As a large group of those migrants coming across the border are military age men that have came over here, all believe that their gang and their prisons were let out of Venezuela to come here, and now they are assembling themselves, as they have shown in videos on the internet, and as they have now started extorting specifically here in this area of Denver, Colorado. And today we are going to be going into these locations where the Venezuelan gangs have taken control, talking to the locals and the people that live inside these complexes. We're going to be trying our best to track down trained Araguas and show you guys who these people are and how you guys can identify them here in Denver, Colorado, and across America. On the outside of this apartment complex, it literally says TDA, Train de Araguas.
Now you have to remember
that
that
Venezuelan gang that
certain news outlets on the left are reporting
Aurora.
that
We're going to go in here and see if we can talk to anybody, as they have
immigrants
also
don't exist, and
they
this
have
is a
also
made-up
shown
story.
that this is a spot where Train de Araguas
This
has
is
either
the position
came or is
from
currently
Democrats.
extorting to the people. Is it true that Train de Araguas has came here to this area of Aurora?
Sí. Por todo esto. Incluso allá arriba cerraron una parte.
Entonces no sentirá que
No.
Right.
¿Qué está haciendo?
No, they literally said that.
Pues lo que siempre robar, meterse a todos los conjuntos, sacar cosas de los mercados, todo eso.
¿Y ha escuchado de otras personas aquí en este sector que han sido extornados?
No, por aquí no. Por aquí, por estos lados. Pero de aquel lado sí que hubo mucho eso.
So she's from Venezuela. And what kind of crimes do Train de Araguas commit in Venezuela? So people here in America can understand how dangerous they really are.
Robar, matar, extorsionar, todo eso. Y quieren venir aquí a hacer lo mismo. No están en Venezuela. Para que hagan lo que hacen allá.
And so you believe they also want to do the same here as well?
Sí, ya se ve que lo hacen.
¿Y personas como usted y yo deberíamos estar temerosos de los miembros?
Sí, porque no les importa. A ellos no les importa hacerle daño a cualquier persona.
Do you feel safe walking the streets here?
No.
Ahora en este sector está peor que era ahí en Venezuela?
Sí, está casi igual que Venezuela.
Well, she's saying it is literally just about as bad in Venezuela as it is here in Aurora, Colorado with the gang.
So, do you hear that?
Yeah, man.
See, to me, that's like kind of crazy, because she's saying it's now, she left this place in Venezuela to get away from the poverty and the crime and all these things that bring her family here. And now it's just as bad in this area. This is just one area. This is not all of America. In Aurora, Colorado. And she's saying, this is crazy to me, because like, it seems like it's starting to happen in more towns, but I don't know.
Well, I think the thing that comes to my mind is like, in this day, people don't know what is real. Like, so you have people over here, they think this thing's real. And these people don't think that it exists at all. But I think one thing that should always be noted is, if you want to figure out if any of that is real, you need to go figure out stuff that's happened like legally, right? Because I'm sure there's been some, if if this is going on, right?
Yeah.
There's been some run-ins, and that has to be documented somewhere. Now I know that might take a little bit of digging,
Right.
but if you're of the mind that none of this is happening at all, if you actually really want to know, you should go figure that out. Unless, to say that it's kind of disrespectful to the situation if this stuff is going on and then there's an entire group of people who, because of their sense of their sense of morality or whatever, like want to act like it's not happening. That's kind of opposite of what, because like you said, it seemed like it was people on the left who were trying to act like this wasn't happening. People on the left, they say that they're about love and compassion and being about what's true. So find out, or don't just get on there and be like, none of this is real.
Or don't call people racist. They call people. That's the other thing. As soon as something comes up that we don't like conversation that involves people of different diversity, if it doesn't fit their narrative, they call you racist.
Yeah,
and it's
an interesting thing.
It's crazy.
People look at me like I say stuff sometimes. They're like, "Are you sure you're not a white supremacist?" Like, no. Do you mean, do I look at myself in the mirror?
Reminds me of Dave Chappelle.
I actually wrote I wrote a bit like this when I did some.
You remember that Dave Chappelle?
Yeah. But it was, but the reality is like, just because a person holds particular thoughts doesn't make them a white supremacist. That might just mean that you might have to have a nuanced conversation with this person. That trying to have black and white conversations in this world is kind of crazy. Because the reality is like, I remember Chris Rock said in this one, he said, about certain things, I'm more liberal. He was like, about like prostitution, he's like, I'm more liberal. He's like, but about things like guns, I'm very conservative, right? People need to stop acting like both of those things don't exist inside of them. There is no purely liberal person, and there's no purely conservative person. You just have people who are more to one side than the other. But that person doesn't even exist. And they got people at each other over craziness. But like I said, man, this is interesting.
What would be your message to the political leaders of the United States, knowing that trained Nicaraguans have arrived and they are committing grievous crimes like murder and extorting to the people?
Okay, si pueden agarrarlos, mejor. Si los pueden deportar.
This apartment complex right here
Crazy.
is one of the main
She's
apartment
an immigrant that wants to
shut down
deport immigrants.
due to rumors of Venezuelan gangs such as Trained Nicaraguans extorting the people inside of this building. This building is also in horrible shape. It is all boarded up. They have a fence around the entire perimeter, and they have even hired their own personal security to defend and protect this building. And man, how come this building is closed down right now? Trained Nicaraguans? What can you tell us about what happened here inside this apartment complex?
Oh, ese edificio lo cerraron por una balacera que hubo ahí en ese, donde está abierta la ventanilla. Se balearon 5 personas, no sé si hubieron muertos, pero más el motivo fue por eso, porque había mucho desmadre ahí. Los mismos ellos armaban el mismo desmadre y entre ellos mismos se peleaban y se agarraban allá adentro.
So inside this apartment complex, the migrants and the Venezuelans that were living in there had guns?
Sí, tenían armas porque de luego se agarraron adentro porque habían armas adentro del edificio.
And how is it possible for these Venezuelan migrants to get these guns?
Pues no sé, pero ahí se agarraron adentro con armas y los que se tiraron salieron para acá afuera.
So the bullets were leaving outside that building into your guys' neighborhood.
Y adentro, para afuera estaban saliendo nosotros estábamos dormidos, estábamos acostados con mi doña, como nosotros tenemos un bebé de 1 año, nosotros tuvimos que tirarlos para el suelo porque fue allí en el último y se miraba que salían las chispas de de las armas y los muchachos ya donde salieron tirados vinieron a salir a las calles, ya tirados los muchachos. Uno cayó ahí por donde está la camioneta blanca. Se salieron pues ya tirados de adentro.
So everybody started leaving and running out of that apartment complex because there's literally a war going on with guns inside of the building.
Sí, salieron porque eso fue en la madrugada como a las 3 de la mañana.
¿Personas murieron adentro de eso?
No sé, pero sí hubieron tirados.
So people were shot. We don't know if they were killed, but they were shot and they left with wounds in their stomachs and in their body.
Sí, salieron disparados, baleados en sus pechos.
Usted salió a un país de tercer mundo y ahora parece que los Estados Unidos está volviendo a ser más como un tercer mundo.
Sí, porque se está, en vez de estar bien uno, tiene que andar con un ojo adelante y otro atrás.
And before I went over to the apartment complex where the video went viral, the Venezuelan gangs
There's a lot of
walking around
arguments
with a
for that.
rifle, I wanted to call a friend who's a night
It's
crawler in
leading
New York
down that
City to
direction.
explain just how dangerous these gangs are and how to identify them with their tattoos. Can you tell the people a little bit how these gangs identify themselves and what kind of tattoos they get and how people can know whether a person is a gang member or not?
Sure. So there's multiple different tattoos these gangs use. There is anything Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, the Michael Jordan sign, 23. Another telltale sign is anything with trains, right? If they have a train anywhere, train tracks, trains, that's another telltale sign of trend agua. Another thing is crowns. They love the crowns. For some reason, they love the crowns. And then you got your AK-47s, which are another symbol of the TDA gangs. Again, these are very dangerous gangs, Nick. And I've seen it firsthand, and they're linked to murders and decapitations throughout New York City now.
So these gangs, the way you can tell if they're a gang member, if they got a train tattoo, they got a crown tattoo, anything Michael Jordan and 23 related.
Yeah, Chicago Bulls, 23.
I know some people.
Look, and again, be
Jordan.
careful.
I know people got a couple of names. Got a Jordan or a Crown.
It's not worth it. These guys are dangerous. They will slice
He's
you up.
not in my neck.
I've seen them make people senseless. They're dangerous. And I'm a born New Yorker. I grew up in the mob days, right? And even the mob didn't do what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Leroy, we appreciate what you're doing in New York City, and I'm sure everyone's gonna be happy to know what these gang members and how they can spot them. These are the apartment complexes where the migrants came in and where you saw the video of the people coming through with a rifle to knock down a door. We're gonna go see if we can talk to some of the people here. We got some people out here doing some car workshop. We're gonna see if we can talk to them. Well, these first migrants working on
Yeah,
the
they're
car
trying to
outside
say
were not
that this
speaking.
isn't
And if you
happening.
guys are still watching this video, I want to remind you to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me out. And now let's get inside the apartment complex.
They're not to that
what
point
is
yet,
actually
but-
going on in Aurora, Colorado. A lot of the cars here also are
Yeah,
not registered.
right.
No plates or
Exactly.
vehicles here in this parking lot.
I didn't even think of it that way, but you're 100%
Unregistered
right.
vehicles, which also causes a harm because the police can't track what's going down if these people are using these cars for something that is not legal. We got piles of garbage. We got a lot of Coca-Cola. We got some cerveza. We got some alcohol right there. And this place is not being maintained by anybody at all. So here, these apartment complexes, they're not being taken care of whatsoever. We got a door through this window right here. And alguien está? And right here, another window is broken through, and they got plywood on the outside of this one. Bullet hole right there. Hola, alguien está aquí? Hola, a bullet come through right here. So from what you've heard, do you believe that Tren de Araguas have came here?
It's one of those decals.
Tren de Araguas ha llegado aquí?
Por lo que se escucha, dicen que es el tren.
Es una gran posibilidad que sí.
Sí.
When you guys got here to America, did you think you guys would be living in conditions like this?
No.
And right here in this window,
So this guy's
a
interesting.
bullet was shot right through there.
He comes
Do
up
you
with some
believe that gang
interesting
activity is actually happening here?
Um,
theories.
Bullets. We've seen videos with migrants that do have guns.
Can I say this? This neighborhood technically always has shootings. Like, this is my thing is, there was a shooting 2 nights ago. They blamed it straight on the Venezuelans. This neighborhood has always had shootings. But what I'll say about it is, yes, when you have people, if they have bad motives and they want to secure this as a foundation, if they do, they will cause hecticness. But what I'm saying is, this neighborhood has always had these issues, and they're blaming it on the Venezuelan. Now, the Venezuelans, they came here and they found free rent, free housing, because the owners of these places are not, they really were slumlords. So people were already living here, drug addicts, prostitutes, but this was an easy place for them to come and say, hey, we're going to move in and not pay rent. That's what it is.
Has the city done anything, or have they called on any other gangs in the city? Because we know that Denver, like you said, there's a lot of gangs here. Have they called on the gang to try and come maybe fight these Venezuelan gangs?
And that's the situation, is that after the police didn't come in here and raid these places if there was a lot of problems like there was. People started calling on the local gangs. You guys should go confront them.
So this is where we're at in America. The local police and the government don't want to do anything about it because the government brings them in, allows these people to come across the border, which 99% of the 0.9% of the people coming across the border are good people trying to avoid poverty and things that American foreign policy brings to their countries, which is messed up. And then the 0.01% of the people that are bad are coming in, and like now we're trying to get American gangs to fight.
See, people,
Like, it's crazy.
see, what I think is crazy is like people don't. There's people, right, who have no real like communication with poverty.
Yeah.
Right. So, like this guy just said, he said there's always been shootings here, right?
Right.
So some more people came in and they started shooting because this is what impoverishment creates. Like it creates. So then it would only make sense, right? If you bring these people in, like you said, most of these people just wanted to move here, get away from all of that craziness, and just raise their family or
Right.
something like
Absolutely.
that. Like most of them people wanted to do that, but to suggest that it's somewhat impossible that in all of that you did inherit gangs and things like that. That's totally inconceivable. Like, of course that happens. That's the same way that things are right now in the hood in various places. You got this community full of beautiful people, right? People just trying to live and all this stuff. And then there is the criminal element or like, the gang element. And that exists too because that's what impoverishment creates,
right?
And I think it's always done that. I think it always creates this underbelly of people who are willing to do things that are outside of people, more affluent people. It's outside of their ability to understand it.
And I think so. Like I always think about Baltimore because I've been to Baltimore so many times, and I think to myself, how did we get here? How did this place become what it is now? And like it happened years ago. So this is one of those moments where this is happening right now. And 20 years from now, it'll be, if you project out on the current way of things how they're going, it's going to be far worse. And we're going to say, how did we get here? You know what I mean? And this is like an inflection point of this is how we got here.
I mean, and ultimately, like wherever, like all the nations of the world create these issues themselves,
right?
Because poverty should have always been, I think, the number. We talk about the different things that people have fought. We got to fight against cancer. We got to fight against this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was never really like a fight against poverty because people like underestimated what that does in the long run. Because here we are now in a situation that I don't know. It seemed I can't remember. I can't remember people saying, "Oh, we're inheriting gangs that are decapitating people." That's a new place. That's what poverty does. It creates these elements because you've devalued human beings. That's the it's like I mean that can't create anything good. And we're seeing the Venezuelan poverty is different than American poverty.
Right.
These people are a little bit more extreme. They might do something that your regular American gangbanger he might not do that.
Right.
This guy sees some other poverty that was on a whole different level. So, I'm liking what this guy is saying because, I mean, I'm not getting the feeling from none of these people that they're just making stuff up.
I like the fact that this guy doesn't necessarily agree with him in some of the things he's saying, but he kept him in the video.
I like his I like the fact that he's he's not like he's impartial.
Right.
He's not in the sense that of course he has maybe a side that he claimed.
Right.
But it's one thing to claim a side. It's another thing to devalue the other side.
100%.
And,
Absolutely.
you know, like there's value on all sides. I hear people all the time talking, yeah, freaking liberals, man, they don't got, you know, they're the reason why this place is going to hell and all this stuff. It's like, I understand that you may not agree, and don't get me wrong, I hear the vice versa.
Right.
But it's like I had a cousin who said that there was no good people who voted for Trump. I know some of these people who are beautiful human beings.
Yes.
Right? But that's where we're at, right?
Yes.
You know, and I like the fact that he's willing to come away from his side to have a conversation about, you know, just person to person, not side to side.
It seems like he's trying to find the truth.
Yeah, I genuinely
and I can respect
feel
that
like
no matter what side you're on. If
I
you're
genuinely feel like
trying to find the truth, I don't care what side you're on, because that's you trying to be out there and trying to educate people and trying to educate yourself, which you can't condemn anybody for that.
You can't at all.
All right.
Like, this is your neighborhoods. When you think about it, it's like, bro, they wanted people to come over here and start basically a war. Let's turn this up and have conflicts where they can actually have something to say, hey, it's going crazy over there.
Why don't the police come in here instead of the other gangs?
I couldn't even tell you that. That's why when I see all this stuff, why didn't the gangs, when they had the footage of the dudes with the guns, right? If it was gangbangers, they would have came in here and raided the whole situation, and this place would have been flipped, because Colorado, Denver, they put gangbangers on the terrorist list.
Wow.
But they seen this on the footage and they didn't even come in here. So I don't, it's kind of like.
There hasn't been one single arrest since that video took place.
No. And these fools had their mask, their faces wasn't covered. But if it was some gangbangers, they definitely going to come in here. They going to indict the whole neighborhoods around here, you know?
Mm-hmm. So do you think it could have been an inside job by the people that run the government here in Denver?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to it. It's deeper than just Venezuela's invading. It's like these dudes set this up. That's how I feel.
Where are all the people from that live inside this apartment complex?
Aquí la gente que vive aquí hay personas venezolanas, personas de México, de Honduras, de África. Aquí hay personas de todos diferentes países, no nada más venezolanos, como dicen en las redes, que en Aurora, que en los apartamentos solo hay venezolanos y que hay mafiosos y que hay bandas.
Who do you guys pay rent to? ¿Y ustedes a quién paga su alquiler?
Al dueño de los apartamentos. Nosotros, por lo menos, yo tengo contrato.
Ok, ¿y cuándo usted tiene que pagar para vivir aquí?
$1,200 pago yo.
$1,200.
$1,200 aparte, hay que pagar la luz.
$1,200. This migrant said she was paying $1,200 in rent. However, in just a few
crazy
moments, she will reveal how these migrants are actually able to live inside this apartment complex. But first, she let me get a tour of her apartment complex and the apartment complex of her father.
This made me sad.
Let us in here. Whoa. Here on
This
the wall,
looks
there's
nice.
holes. She says the electricity doesn't work, the hot water doesn't run. Not a very good situation inside here. This is the bathroom in here. So the water inside your shower does not drain, and there is no hot water.
No sale agua caliente en la ducha. Yo tengo que calentar agua para bañar a los niños y eso se tapa, que a veces no baja el agua.
And then obviously the kitchen right here.
Se pone el agua y si no se seca se pone podrida el agua. Entonces tengo que estar secando, dejando un trapo ahí siempre.
And you still have to pay $1,200 just to live here. Todavía
ya por lo menos estos meses atrás, ya el dueño no ha querido recibir ninguna clase de pago.
So now we've hopped over to the next building, and on the windows right here, there's gunshots, bullets. These apartment complexes are in horrible condition. There's also throw up, whether it be a person or a dog. This place is absolutely disgusting. Oh. But this one's even worse. She says you can't even live here because the water doesn't even work. There's holes through the roof where water has came through. You can't use the shower or tub.
Well, electricity shut off by the PP&L.
There's cockroaches everywhere in here,
yeah,
so
man.
nobody can live or even sleep
So
in
I'm
here
assuming
because
that
how bad
that
condition
bill's
is.
probably
And does your father still have to pay rent?
Ya el dueño no está recibiendo ninguna clase de pago porque él también está tomando todo esto que de pandillas, de que mafia se está aprovechando de todo esto para sacarnos a nosotros como que si fuéramos perros y no es justo.
And so you say the landlord is not collecting rent, so are the gangs now coming in and charging people dinero?
No, nadie. Aquí nadie nos ha cobrado a nosotros nada.
And did you think that your life was going to be like this when you came across the border to live here in the United States?
No, jamás. Me hubiera quedado en mi país. Dicen que aquí ya todo es diferente, las leyes, todo, uno consigue su buen trabajo, uno sale adelante, puede reunir plática para llevar a su país, pero no todo es como lo dicen, que el sueño americano simplemente es un sueño. Cuando llegas aquí ya despiertas, no es como lo dicen.
Si alguien le dio un vuelo para regresar, una oportunidad de regresar a Venezuela, ¿regresaría?
Con todo el amor del mundo regresaría a mi país, sí.
¿Y usted cree que
Crazy.
pandilleros han llegado aquí?
Sí he escuchado tiroteo, pero aquí adentro no he visto a ninguna persona con armamentos.
Okay.
Si vienen de los alrededores, vienen carros y arman,
So
echan
what part of what is happening too is so the government through certain programs are giving immigrants money because they come here. Obviously, they have no permits to work, so they can't get money. So then these people, they've proven in some of these places, like some of these Aurora, Colorado, the people that own some of these places are also part of the government. So once again, you have government officials exploiting a program that they vote for and install. And then you see that what we have to realize as Americans is that as much as you might be angered that these people are coming here, look at what they're going through. Look at the type of things, like the type of environment they're living in. There's no landlord. Nobody's fixing these places. It's so bad that the last woman said she would like to go back to Venezuela. And she's in America.
Yeah, man, that made me sad, man.
That was
because, like she traveled here. She had the belief that a better life was on the other side.
Yep.
And there's some people who will say, "Well, the American dream isn't just a dream because you can work hard and you can become the things you want." It's like, you don't think people work hard in Venezuela and become, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So I was watching he did 2 other videos that I watched, and essentially when he interviews people coming from the other countries, which is really interesting. And the main point that they talk about, which is crazy if you think about, is they talk about inflation. They're coming from these other countries talking about not that necessarily, they can't get jobs or that kind of thing, but they talk about inflation and they can't afford to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't interesting that they're coming to another country and they say, because our government keeps inflating has massive inflation because they're printing money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are we doing? We're printing money, and right now we have some inflation, but we're not at what some of these places like Venezuela has. Like their inflation goes up 1,000% overnight sometimes, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy, and I remember, we had a talk some time ago. We were talking about how, we look at like the economy, right, in the world, right? People act like the economy is like this natural outgrowth of humanity, and realistically, the economy is an experiment. It's an experiment to see if this can work. Nobody said that this has to work. Like this, and I think that that's kind of what, like, at different times, different places in the world experience the evidence that it just doesn't work. Because eventually there's always going to be more powerful people who set themselves up to do better in that system and have the means and knowledge to do that. So that's always going to happen.
Yeah.
So the fact that, these people are coming here and they've experienced that there, and then we're experiencing something similar, it's like, well, I imagine most places in the world are experiencing this to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Massive inflation, right. Because I really don't. I think that, and I'm not trying to say like I'm like some person who like knows the answer to it, but I am saying that it doesn't seem like the economy in the world actually works.
Well, you don't have to know the answer to point out the fact that it's not working.
It just doesn't seem like it works. Yeah. There's way too many impoverished people.
Right.
People do not understand that poverty is a form of violence, because in reality, you're trying to strip the value of this person, and you don't know the people you see every day. You don't know how valuable those people are. You know how many people are sitting in a slum right now, who if they didn't have to worry about where they were going to eat, where they were going to live, where they were going to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, how many of those people could contribute to actually creating a better world? But you can't do that with, in this impoverished situation. We're losing valuable people to impoverishment. That's what I'm not a guy who grew up in the hood, but I was always in and out of the hood. And you start to understand, like, there's beauty here. There's great beauty here, but it's all murky because there's this criminal element that's in the air because it's a resource battle.
Yeah, I mean, what the other thing too is with inflation is just another form of taxation.
Yeah, it is really.
You know, so I mean, you know.
Un tiro que vienen y pues echan el poco de tiros y se van.
Y entonces sí escucharon los disparos.
Sí, el día que se armó el
How he lets just everybody speak what they want to say.
Yo escuché todo, pero salí corriendo, me escondí, fue en el baño, porque me daba miedo.
Aquí han escuchado disparos.
Se escuchaban allá afuera.
Afuera. And you believe those are members of Tren de Araguas? ¿Y creen que ellos son miembros de Tren de Araguas?
Bueno, no les sé decir porque no los he visto a nadie.
Pero de lo que ha escuchado de sus ventanas.
Dicen por el tipo de armamento, en los videos que han salido el tipo de armamento, dicen que son del Tren de Aragua. Hay muchos de ellos que dirán que son del Tren de Aragua. Nosotros somos venezolanos, pero somos de familia sana.
So the landlords have completely fled these buildings, which has caused the perfect situation for gangs to actually come in here and start extorting to the people, because if there's no government per se or no landlord inside this complex, the gangs come in.
It's almost
and they
like its
their
own
government.
It's a wild west.
Yeah, it's like its own little country inside the country.
Able to come in here and charge these people rent, even though they have no control of these buildings, because essentially all these people that are living here in this apartment building are squatting because they're not paying rent to anybody. And now, from everybody I talked to inside this apartment complex, it seems like a lot of people are very hesitant to say as to what
I don't really understand it either.
I did talk to. I kind of got the vibe that
I'm always skeptical of reasons why.
Complexes, but obviously they're not going to
I
say
told not to.
And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel.
All right, so that's it.
That was a good video.
So go watch that video if you want to see it. It's Nick Shirley, Inside the Dangers of Venezuelan Migrant Gangs Living in America. He did a couple videos in different spots, and I found them pretty interesting. He stays unbiased as possible, and I think that's a hard thing to do in the current climate we live in.
Yeah.
But I think he did a good job. I don't know, how'd you feel about that?
I thought that was really good. The fact that he, like you said before, that he took time to learn Spanish so that he could go and communicate with the people when he got there. Like that's a commendable thing right there. You know, like I think a lot of people might even think that somebody who's more Trump oriented might be opposed to speaking Spanish.
Right.
Because they'd be like,
they should speak English. They're in America.
You know what I mean? Like so, like you said, every vibe that I got from that guy, I felt like I could have a comfortable conversation with that guy about a variety of things.
Sure.
Right. I know a lot of people, you know what I mean? Because I got all kinds of friends on all kinds of the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But like, though he may lean one way, I know so many different liberal-minded people who I've met over the years who would have absolutely no issue with having a conversation with somebody like that. So what I'm saying is if you want to be so opposed to the other side that you can't believe anything that they say, go find yourself somebody who is, remember, it's a political spectrum. It's not just far over here and far over there. That's not how it is. That guy right there, he was a good proof of the fact that we need to have more nuanced conversations about what's going on here, because they kind of got us against each other, and we're all losing. That's what I don't think that we're getting.
Right, exactly.
We're all losing.
Exactly. The people that are coming into this country, however you feel about them, they're losing. They're going into these sanctuary cities like this, and this is what's happening to them. They're going into, you heard them talk about it. They're going into situations that some of them want to go back home. And, you know, like Will said, we're all losing at the end of the day. And I think you know, the other thing is when I'm trying to find out things, if I have a certain opinion on things, I want to challenge my own opinion. I want to prove myself wrong. And that's kind of I kind of figure out the closest thing to the truth that I can.
That's how, I mean,
and that's how I found this, because I was looking and I found a lot of videos. You saw that place where he said it was closed up.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw people going there to that building. Now it's condemned, and saying, see, there's nothing going on here because now it's condemned. There was something going on, but now it's condemned. So they're showing video of nothing going on after the fact.
I just don't understand why people feel like it's outside of the realm of possibility that gangs could make that travel. I don't understand why. Like, if we have our own forms of that in America,
right?
Is it so out of line to think that something else could come from? And from what the one lady, she made a really good point. She was like, "There's all kinds of people living here. There's not really just Venezuelans, but they may have like there may be a prevalent gang there, but ultimately it's like." It's like was letting all with the fact that we are going to start letting people in that may not have I guess you can't ever really know, right? You can't ever really know. You can screen people and stuff, and I imagine that these people have to some degree been screened. I would have I don't know though.
I mean, once again, I can bring up 10 videos of argument for either side.
Yeah,
you know, where is the truth?
It's a post-truth world. That's what everything is teaching me.
Yeah.
That truth is speculative in the sense that if I feel like this truth that I've come across is if it fits with my perspective, my worldview, then that's what I'm going to believe, regardless of any other information that may come in to the contrary.
Yes.
And it's very it's sort of religious in its nature.
When we had a world where we lived on, we had a world where we had media that would always try and find the truth. Yeah. We just think that was the way it was previously, right? I think a lot of us can agree at this point that the media is not trying to find the truth at this point. So how do you believe either side when it comes to media articles written? You know what I mean? You need fact checkers that fact the fact checkers the fact the fact checkers.
Yeah, it's like to be honest, like it seems like a giant mind fuck.
Yes,
because it's just like you're going to continue. If you believe the world is a certain way, you're going to find what's going to go with that, right?
Right.
So people are doing that, and then they have these opposing viewpoints, and then they start saying, well, people who have the opposing viewpoint aren't even valuable to me. And then that's when everybody's lost.
Do you ever think that maybe they're trying to make, this kind of goes to a Civil War argument, that they're trying to make us devalue the other side to a point, right? That we would have, whereas opposed, we would never, like 10 years ago, you're like, well, no, there would never be a civil war. But now it's a possibility because you think that the person on the other side is that far gone or that devalued that you would, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Like I wonder with these school shootings, right? These people that are executing these school shootings are at the, at the point where they just we've devalued life so much, and that's why they're happening. Because there's been guns in this country for hundreds of years, and an absorbent amount of guns, and the school shootings are just a recent thing. The having multiple school shootings. Yes, there's been school shootings in the past, but relatively, like in the last 20 years, is more of it's happened more.
I would say, but yeah, I'd say altogether, we've been losing a certain degree of respect for humanity for a long time. I mean, if you really think about what's been going on since things became hyperpolarized, right? I've seen the fact that there seems to be this correlation between that time and when loneliness became an epidemic level thing.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of people who are so nauseated by the world, right? Because whether you're on one side of it or on the other side, on the one side, they're like, man, you got these crazy lefties out here.
Right.
I'm not going out here. Who knows? I'm see a man walking around as a dog. Some people are on that side, and then some other people are like, there's Trump MAGA,
right,
white supremacists running around everywhere. And what's the result? Everybody's like, let me just stay to myself.
Yeah.
Let me just stay here where I'm safe, because out there, them crazy people are out there.
I fall into that. I tell Heather sometimes, I'm like, I shouldn't be allowed outside because I don't do well sometimes in society. And, I just kind of like my filter does not work well sometimes when I'm in society, and probably shouldn't go out and participate sometimes.
Right now, I'm just in the beginning stages of teaching meditation.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be in environments where I feel like we have a want to find unity with each other when we're there. Right?
I like that.
So we're not really transfixed on the things that separate us, and everything in the news cycle is meant to make a person very very much about, I'm on this side, this person is over
very
here.
Polarizing.
It's so polarizing that I feel like it. Sometimes if I'm looking at it from this Orwellian type of place, I'm like, the news cycle is meant to separate people.
Yeah, that's what I love about playing basketball.
Yeah,
because when I'm playing basketball, there's one objective on each team. It's to beat the other side.
Yeah.
And when we're at basketball, I know those guys. We've been playing together a long time. We all have different opinions on what's going on in the world, but there's one objective on the court.
Yeah.
And even at my old slow pace, there's still one objective. I still dive. Not smart, because I hurt myself all the time.
Okay.
But I have one objective, and I know the other four guys that are playing with me, that we all have one objective, and it's to win. And that's what I love about going to basketball.
Yeah, man. It's funny though, because it's but still, then after basketball, because basketball is where I have a lot of communications with people.
Yeah.
So
that's how we met.
It's how we met, and
we had.
I was having I had a conversation with a guy. I was actually just playing earlier today. He was whooping my ass at certain times.
Really?
Oh man, yeah. That's the thing about.
I've never seen Bill get his butt whooped.
Listen, I did my fair share too.
Okay,
but when you play against people who are elite scorers,
right?
It's crazy, because you're like, man, he's putting it on me. I'm used to putting it on people. Not we're duking it out,
right?
But
it's a back and forth.
He's an awesome dude, and we've gotten really cool, over the last year or two. And he told me a story one time about how, he was a person who had considered going to like the January 6th stuff. You know,
Okay.
He was considering it. He didn't end up going. He told people in his family that he had considered it, and then people started sort of like disowning him and all kinds of stuff. And he said he had a nephew who he felt like he partially raised, and then his nephew had just went away to, I think he was going to like Temple.
Okay.
So he went to Temple and he came home like super like liberally institutionalized. So then he was like, once they had like some understanding of each other's political views, the kid flipped out on him and was like, "You're a freaking white supremacist." And it's like, now I'm talking to him just, man to man. It's like, I've been around white supremacists. Like I've known some, right? I don't get that vibe from this dude. Grew up in Reading, like I mean, it would be really hard for him to grow up there and be a white supremacist, But that's the kind of thing. That's the problem. The problem is that it rips families apart.
Yeah,
and
it does.
It rips families apart, but it also rips things like friendships apart.
Absolutely. The friendship's quicker because
the friendship's quicker.
Yeah.
Because they're like, "Oh, you're on that side?
Right.
Oh, well, we don't even want to talk to you."
Right.
It's like, you don't even know, really. I know that there's people who thought that, because of a lot of things that were happening in COVID-related type stuff, people who like associated me kind of with like some sort of like far right type of situation. I'm just like, I don't even have a political affiliation.
Don't put me in a box.
Like people have been trying to put me in boxes a long time.
Right.
That's
I mean, I refuse to allow that nonsense. I mean, my family is there's Trump, there's Biden / Harris, there's you name it, and I refuse. I will go silent. I express my opinion on both sides, how I feel, what's going on, but if I feel like at any point it starts getting to the point where people are starting to feel a certain way and they might not interact with each other, I'm shutting it down because I won't allow it. We should never allow that, something where politicians would walk over us to pick up a quarter on the street, to allow them to somehow divide us, divide family, divide friends. And I'm just not going to do it. Friends is kind of tough because, you're not joined to the hip kind of thing. You're you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I try, and I have very extreme. What's funny about me is, me, I have very extreme ideas about both sides. And so whatever side's in power, people, when Trump was in power, people on Trump because hated me because I held Trump to accountability. And now that, the other side's in power, I hold them to accountability. So now all the Trump people love me. So it's super hilarious when it comes to my ideas and thought process when it comes to politics, which I find amusing, but it is what it is.
All anybody who thinks that you're so cemented into your position, wait till you have a thought that you can't shake, right? Wait till you have a thought that is like contrary to what you've been claiming, because that you believe. Because then once you start to believe it,
wait for you young people as you gain experience in life. And you find and you grow and your ideas grow and have an understanding that 5 years from now, whether you're on the left or the right, maybe you'll have completely different thoughts. Maybe you're on the left now and you'll be on the right. Maybe you're on the right now and you'll be on the left. You never know.
There's a lot of people doing that right now.
Absolutely.
A lot of people who I grew up with were always more liberal type people. They were, in many cases, more, I always hung out around kids, at-risk children. You know what I mean? Like, I always was around them. And to watch where they are now, some of them, in this place that seems like super conservative, is very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But it lets me understand that, like, that only makes sense because there is no such a thing as a conservative and a liberal. They're not actually real things. They're just things. They're just labels for people, and people are bigger than labels.
Language is divisionary.
It is.
They
It's
want to
very
be able to
right.
put a label on you. It's just like calling you conspiracy theorist or name the thing that
Exactly.
they can label you with, because like what we're saying with value of people, it puts you in a certain category, devalues. Some people will devalue you because somebody puts that label on you, and they do it on purpose because they just want one or two words where they can say, your opinion doesn't matter, your ideas don't matter because you're this. And then everybody will just flee to that one guy, that one person speaking, and the echo chamber is speaking, and disvalue that other person. And it's crazy to me. But so this is video number 3. I'm still trying to figure out how to get the upload video number 2. I'm having trouble. The Olympic one, I thought I could do it, but I don't know. Anyways, that's my problem.
First, I started to say Olympics.
no, Olympics.
You had the Olympics.
Whoever
Whoever can take the most shots here in the Olympics.
Yeah. So this is video number 3. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back and watch the other video that we did that we posted the first video.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing more like this. I like this. I like it because it's kind of like we melted the podcast with this.
I know it's very.
You know what I mean?
It did have like that's I was having that same thought. It kind of evolved. I think into this, and I think that it suits as well.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell anybody out there something that we don't truthfully believe.
Exactly.
Right? Now, I might be wrong about something, but if I'm wrong about something, understand that it's coming from a place of love. I have no hatred for any people who exist. I don't understand everybody. And there's people who don't understand me, and that's cool. But I would rather speak to you genuinely than to censor myself so that I don't offend you. But if I do offend you, I apologize, and I didn't mean to. But,
you're gonna hear us speak our mind. We're not gonna hold things back. We're not gonna not say something or say something to get reactions. We're just gonna speak how we feel. And I think Will does a good job of doing that.
So
I try and do that the best. I try to speak exactly how I feel, be genuine in what we're saying, and I always get that same feeling from Will.
Yeah. So thank you, people.
So
please continue to watch.
Subscribe, like, share, all that.
All those YouTube,
all those things you got to do to get the algorithm to like you. We got to get up and higher in the rankings. So, all right. Well, guys. Later.